Hello, my name is Mr.Dump, and today I will be trying to explain all of the New Deal programs. Okay, during FDR's first 100 days in office, he began pulling reforms out of his butt like no other president. 15 major bills were passed during this time, and after his inauguration, FDR declared a bank holiday. During this time, the banks were closed for at least 4 days. During this time, he passed the Emergency Bank Act, which was enacted on March 9,
1933.
This allowed the government to inspect all the banks and check if they had enough money in their reserves. If they did, they were allowed to open. March 31st, 1933. The Civilian Conservation Corps, or also known as the CCC. The FDR didn't just want to hand people money, you see, so he put them to work and basically just gathered a bunch of young dudes and put them to work on reforestation and conservation projects. They also built roads, bridges, and trails. March 12th, 1933, the Federal Emergency Relief Administration, or FARA. This gave money for state relief programs that went bankrupt. Still May 12th, 1933, the Agriculture Adjustment Act, or the was put in motion. This allowed the government to directly regulate the farm economy, a first in U.S. history. FDR wanted to solve the overproduction problem they were having, so he just paid farmers to stop growing certain crops. This stabilized the farm economy for a while. Problem was the benefits were distributed unevenly. See, cutting production for big and medium-sized plantation owners was fine because they just cut the amount of land they have for rent and screwed their tenants. That led to a whole other mess of problems. This act was deemed unconstitutional, but FDR being FDR passed the Soil Conservation and Domestic Allotment Act. Allotment Act. That basically said, hey, we're protecting soil.
So I can do this.
Overall, the didn't do much, and so didn't really do much to end the Depression. May 18th, 1933. The Tennessee Valley Authority, also known as the TVA. The TVA was an organization that helped beef up regions by providing hydroelectric power and also building dams. This project was pretty successful and helped rebuild rural areas. However, most of its ambitious goals were blocked by Congress. Because why not? And then the regions were just left poor. June 13th, 1933. The Homeowners Loan Corporation, or the HOLC. This allowed people to refinance their home mortgages, allowing them to keep their homes. June 16th, 1933. The National Industrial Recovery Act, also known as the NRA. The NRA's goal was to help make jobs. It allowed government regulation on corporations, and it also established a minimum wage and the standard workday. It also ended child labor, so yeah, good on them. The NRA also allowed workers to form unions, though they screwed that up by not enforcing it, so unions weren't really recognized by their employers. Overall, the NRA was not very effective, and since it was one entity managing so much, it kind of died. June 16th, 1933. Again, the Public Works Administration, or the PWA. This is extremely similar to the CCC. It was designed to put people to work by making them work on public works projects. And again, June 16th, 1933. The Glass-Steagall Act. This ensured deposits up to $2,500 and made sure banks didn't gamble people's money off on risky investment. For example, and only November 9th, 1993. The Civil Works Administration, also known as the CWA. Headed by Harry Hopkins, the CWA is yet another public works thingy. They did the same thing as the CCC and the PWA. Man build bridge, man get money. June 28th, 1934. Finally, a new year. The Federal Housing Administration, or the FHA. Created by the Federal Housing Act, this organization did the same thing as the HOLC. Together, these two programs would help set up home ownership after World War II. June 6th, 1934. The Securities and Exchange Commission, also known as the SEC. Since everyone lost everything because the stock market crashed, the SEC was designed to police the stock market and make sure it never happens again. They were basically the stonks guy that watches over the stock market like a hawk. April 30th, 1935. The Resettlement Administration. What these guys did was relocate poor families from rural and urban areas, and they just plopped them into communities that were organized by the government. May 6th, 1935, the Works Progress Administration, or the WPA. These guys were also similar to the CCC, the PWA, and the CWA. They also gave jobs to unemployed by putting them to work on public works projects. They also gave relief payments to the unemployed as well, a part that FDR was not so happy about. July 5th, 1935, the Wagner Act. This act allowed industrial workers to join unions. It also prohibited the practices that employers used to suppress unions. This was good because now instead of fighting one man, they were fighting one man with an army. The NLRB, the organization created by the Wagner Act, helped workers get better bargains and protected them from being smacked around by their employers. August 14th, 1935, the Social Security Act. This act had three major things: pensions for old workers, compensation for the unemployed, and payments for the widowed, women, or the disabled. This act was so prominent because the government was getting involved in people's well-being, to show that they cared. February 29th, 1936, the Social Conservation Act. We talked about this already, but for review, it basically defended FDR's plan for farming, claiming that he was preserving the soil. June 25th, 1938, the Fair Labor Standards Act, or the FLSA. This act ended child labor, made a 40-hour work week, made overtime pay mandatory, and established a minimum wage. Whew. Wow, we're done. Cool. That was a lot of reform and didn't even get America out of the Depression. Instead, we needed to go to war with a crazy man with a mustache to get out. Alright, bye.